got to stop singing now. The microphone's hot.
Okay. I was getting ready to be like TikTok.
Oh, I got you.
That's my best TikTok dance.
I told you I'm not TikToking.
Well, I know, but you were singing. I thought
Right.
I'd TikTok.
You thought you'd just go along, right?
So whatever.
Yep.
Perfect. Recording. Well. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur podcast. I am Dr. Ben Spears, the ambassador of Flow. I'm here with the big guy as usual.
Per
The
use.
ambassador of candy corn. It's almost over. Do you have any at your house? Is there any like?
You know I do. I stock up. I get enough to get me through the year, so I buy about 130 bags. And then I stick it in the freezer.
Go bad. You know it don't go bad.
I put it in the freezer. I stack it next to my Twinkies.
It's in the apocalypse dungeon.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
So,
I'll be the only person like 150 pounds overweight in the apocalypse when it hits.
So, Matt.
Yeah, Ben.
We have an amazing episode today. We have something that, I know none of our listeners, I'm being sarcastic, guys, ever have to deal with anything that we're going to be talking about today. But just in case,
right?
Why don't you tell us what we're talking about today?
So Ben is being like hyper sarcastic with this. When we were going over the show notes, he was like, "You sure you can talk about this, Matt?" We're going to talk about, there's a bunch of brokers deal doctor, right? And that means that somebody comes in, their hair's on fire, they need some help, right? So a bunch of brokers deal doctor, but there's things that happen fundamentally in that if you can apply those correctly in your recruiting appointments, it can actually help you in your recruiting appointments too. So we're going to talk about some of that, and if I had to title it.
Okay.
I'd say I do. Okay, yeah. I got you. Okay. So what happens? So how come whenever I title it, sometimes you're like, no, that sucks, and you put something else? How do we decide? Do you just decide, or you like I'm the ambassador of Flow?
Like
and
if
when
it's good,
right, we'll keep it.
Yeah, that's good. Right, like 4 brokers walk into a bar. That was good. Right. Is your brokerage at war? That's good.
Right.
Democratized authority, like I used it, but I wasn't.
That was my fave.
Nobody's
gonna listen to that one. Somebody out there in podcast land, please email us and let us know that at least one of you listened to that episode.
Well, I can see the numbers; they've listened,
right.
But they were like, "Listen, I'm gonna make it through.
I'm gonna power through this one.
I'm gonna power through."
It's a lot of big words.
And then they realized it wasn't as bad.
Right there, you go. So they don't care if you know what they need. Is what we're gonna talk about. Right.
Perfect.
That's what we're going to dig into.
We care to know what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'm going to let you know what we need. We want you to follow us and subscribe to us wherever you're listening to this. Hit that follow button, that subscribe button. There's no better time than the present than to go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com. If you're curious about how to spell it, look at your phone. You're listening to it. It's kind of
right there in your face.
It's kind of like a word.
Right.
It's kind of 2 words made into 1 word.
Kind of broker, kind of preneur.
And sign up for our weekly recruiting newsletter.
Yep.
It is I pack it absolutely full of cool things from
Man,
past
I am in an
episodes.
interrupt Ben mood today. I'm just telling you, I'm over here fighting it, trying not to interrupt. I'm in an interrupt Ben mood today. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a topic or what. All right, I'll stop.
I don't know.
I'll stop.
If you know what I need. That reminds me of. Sorry guys, here sign up for our recruiting newsletter. I pack it full of stuff, past podcast clips that you absolutely love, and just past podcast episodes. Their latest blog that we've written, and then I peruse the internet for not only some things that you could use to help grow your brokerage, but also some fun things.
Right.
Like last week's. Actually, this Friday's actually.
Well, don't say it. It's gotta be a surprise.
I'm just gonna say it.
Oh man.
It's got like some some houses that were in scary movies that are for sale now for like millions of dollars.
Right.
So little things like that, but all of that, even those fun things.
Hey, I got an idea.
Let's hear it.
If you go through and you email us which of those, this is just like this, like hit me like a lightning bolt. This kind of stuff never hits me, guys. This hits Ben all the time. This is his milieu right here. This one hit me, so I had to cut him. I didn't have to. I got to cut him off.
I'm eventually going to make it through this.
Eventually. If you go through and tell us the name of the movie of the house that is the least expensive house in those group of houses that we looked at. So when you go to the podcast and you go to the VIP newsletter and you look at it and you see which house is the cheapest, if you email us, we got a special gift for you. And no, it's not candy corn. Yeah. And it's a cool gift. I promise it's a cool gift. And we'll need your mailing address as well. But you'll absolutely love the gift. No,
absolutely. All right, guys. So, you know what this podcast reminds me of? Like this episode?
Being interrupted all the time?
No, I'm used to that. I think it was Biz Markie. He was like, you got what I need.
You say he's just a friend. Say he's
but you
just
say
a friend.
my deal is dead. Right? That's kind of what we're talking about.
Oh, baby, commission's what I need. Did we go too far? You're going to have to cut this out or you can leave it?
I'm not going to cut it out because,
it's too much work.
Anytime you get Matt singing, you need to keep that in there.
Right.
So.
Golden.
Matt.
Yes, Dr. Ben, Ambassador Flo.
You know, how many times has someone, you know, done a deal and, you know, you knew what was coming. Well, you almost kind of had to say, like, I don't want to let them self-discover, you know, a little bit on their own and just let it play out, essentially.
Yeah. So sometimes that's when a lot of the best learning happens, right? And sometimes you don't have enough information. You think you know exactly what's going to happen, but you got to be careful that you don't start solving a problem that's not there yet. So you kind of have to let that play out. But as soon as we started talking about this, you know, the first thing that popped in my head, you know, there are some quotes, right, that you just hear all the time, and some of them you're like, okay, that's BS, right? And one of them that's that way with me. Now I got to qualify this, right? I'm sure we're going to get comments on this, okay? But you've heard the one before. They don't care what you know until they what is it? They don't care what you know until they know that you care, right? That you care. Yep. Yeah. Okay, that's bullcrap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So Gary V doesn't know me. He doesn't care about me, right? He cares about business. Yeah. And he cares about helping people, right? He's not caring about Matt, okay? Yeah. But he knows what he's talking about, right? And there's a ton of people. Listen to Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry doesn't know me. Yeah. But Tom Ferry puts stuff out all the time that's really good stuff, that's extremely helpful stuff, right? Yeah. So they don't have to know you and love you and care and all that kind of stuff to put things out that are valuable, right?
Exactly.
Okay. We know that's the case. And so sometimes whenever we're talking to people, especially in a recruiting environment or we're deal doctoring, and I'll talk to you in a second about how those two things are connected, when those things are happening, you don't have to come across as empathetic. You don't have to come across as, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened to you, and let's really sit down and put our heads together and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes they just need to know that you have the experience, either from you did it yourself, or you have the experience from helping someone else go through that.
Yep.
Right? Or that you have the trained knowledge of it.
Yeah.
Right? You might not have went through it before, but you know how to read a contract and you know how to handle title issues, and so you can get through all that, right? That's what they need to know sometimes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they already know that you care. Other times they don't give a damn if you care about them. They want the problem fixed.
Yes.
Okay. And so I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes, both in deal doctoring, right? Because you got to be really careful about deal doctoring. And let me give you 2 cents worth of free advice. One of the coaches that I had early on, when I was trying to figure out, you know, how to do things better, right? You know, one of the things that they said was they wanted a notepad to the side.
Yeah.
And every time that someone walked in and we started talking about a transaction or something that was happening for a 2-week period, she wanted me to write down what it was that they came in and that they talked about. Okay. Like on day 2 I was like, okay, uncle, right? I get this. Yeah. Okay. And so I texted her and I said, uncle, you know, I get this, you know, I see where you're going with this. It's a waste of time, all that kind of stuff. And she was pretty adamant. She was like, no, Matt, I need you to do the full 2 weeks. And so we did the full 2 weeks, right? And we meet, and it was laborious, right? It was a pain, sure. Right? And so what she did though is she said, hey, now take a look at that, and that is your training schedule for the next 6 months.
No, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. So she said, you know, there's some one-off. Don't train on the one-off, right? That was just whatever it is. But that's your training schedule for the next 6 months. You figure out those classes and you start talking to those people. And the people that are brand new, they're mandatory. They have to be in there. People that are experienced, you're going to look at that training schedule. And when you look at that training schedule, you're going to see the people that brought those things up, that they said, hey, this is the issue that and you're going to ask them specifically to be in that class so that they can share their experience with how that was handled.
Yeah.
And then you're going to bring information to that, right? So the whole thing of they don't know if you care until or they don't care what you know until you write bullcrap. Okay. What they want whenever their hair is on fire, they want things fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about recruiting for just a second.
Okay.
So we've discussed this before. Sometimes people, whenever you're in a recruiting interview, they're going to make a move. They're making a change. They've got to do right. Okay. And then other people are just there because they're kind of exploring.
Right.
Okay. When you have to look at that from that same exact standpoint as why are they there and why are they going to listen to what I'm saying? Why are they actually going to trust what I'm saying? Not as a broker that can doctor their deals, but as a leader that they want to work side by side with.
Right.
Why would they trust you? So let's go back to that deal doctoring for just a second. Let's take a closer look at that and then kind of lay that on top of how that impacts recruiting.
Kind of sounds like a used car salesman.
What does?
Come on down to the deal doctor.
You know it does. Come on in.
No offense to used car. Like I've honestly met some great used cars.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just
it's almost as bad as realtors, right?
Like, yeah, exactly.
Reputation
right?
wise, it's almost as bad as people saying what realtors are, right?
Yeah. So, the deal doctor.
Yeah. So we know there's good and bad and all of that.
You
right?
got that right.
Come on down to the deal doctor.
Yeah.
So okay. So they want to know if they're contemplating joining your office, they want to know that you have a working knowledge.
Yeah.
That has to come up in your conversations. Okay. Now we've talked about this before. Okay. You want to, one of the podcasts we recently did is, be a know-it-all or something like that, right? I don't forget what we named it, but
yep. Everybody loves a know-it-all.
Everybody loves a know-it-all. So
you named that one.
Did I?
You did.
I did. Okay. Well, you think I remember it, but
no, I'm just saying. Sometimes I use them.
Right, and sometimes you don't. I got
Sometimes
you.
I don't.
Apparently, I never remember them.
Most of the time I do.
And I apparently don't ever remember them.
No
whether they're mine or yours.
There's no reason for you to ever go listen to our podcast. It's just listen to you talk.
That's what happens in my head all day.
I know. That's what I'm saying. When you need a break, you don't want to go to you.
Right.
If you're you need a break. Don't go back to you.
Right. So there's I'm not going to get distracted. I can make it. There's a story. Something happened today about videos. We're not going to go there. All right. Some other time. Yep. Some other time. All right. So they want to know that you're knowledgeable, that you've got a working knowledge. Mm-hmm. Okay. That means it has to be ongoing. That means it has to be intelligent. They want to know that you're going to training. They don't want to walk in the office and somebody say, oh, well, Matt went to training again. Wasn't he just at training last week and the 3 weeks before that and the 2 weeks before that and 15 days and he did this? Yeah. They don't want that. But they also don't want to go, I've never seen Matt in a training class.
Yeah.
They want to know that you've got a working expertise, okay? You have to get that point across in your recruiting conversations.
Yeah. Hey guys, this podcast is powered by Prospect Boomerang.
We all know broker owners struggle with profitability. Prospect Boomerang compounds your profits by recruiting the best agents to your brokerage.
For consistent growth, visit prospectboomerang.com.
So absolutely. That's kind of number 2 though, right? Number 2 is really make sure that you have some training and that your training is consistent. Number 1, the first thing that you want to do is make a connection with them in your office and someone that you know. Yep. Okay. So what I mean by that, so we're going to bounce back and forth. We're going to toggle with the the deal doctor part. Okay. Yep. So if you sit down and you say, hey Matt, this just happened with my deal. How are we working on this? Right. Yep. You're not going to belabor this, but you're going to say, oh, well, we've dealt with something similar to this. I had, Billy Bob in the office. Yeah. We just did this 6 months ago. We just ran into this. Automatically, that agent, what are they going to think? They're going to go, yeah, he's already been through this.
I have relief.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. We want to do the same thing in recruiting. Right. And the way that we do that in recruiting is when you're meeting with somebody, you're going to have that same kind of connection. Ben, I know that, I appreciate you sitting down with me and everything. And, I'm excited to be able to help you transition if that's where we end up and everything. And, one of the cool things is, recently, I onboarded somebody else that was in a situation where they wanted to add more leads. They also wanted to put more dollars in their pocket. They wanted more net income, and we were able to do that. So I'm excited to see if that's something that would matter to you, and if maybe we can work on that together, right?
Yep.
So now what I'm doing is I'm relating and helping them feel more confident because I'm talking about a specific person. And then I would say, well, you know Billy Bob in the office, right? We transitioned him about 6 months ago, and that's what we were able to do.
Yeah, and if you don't, let me introduce you to him after we talk.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So what you're doing is you're making that connection. You're giving that social proof with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So social proof and making sure they're connected and getting them in touch with somebody else in the office that's went through something similar is important. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is training has to be consistent. We already went back and forth over that, right? We already touched on that and how important that is. They're going to feel more confident that you're competent to deal with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now here's an important one. Okay. In your recruiting meeting, up to 2 times, you can talk about your prior business experience, your prior selling experience, your prior whatever, up to 2 times. No one wants to sit in a meeting with a manager or with a recruiter that talks about themselves. And when I got in the business, this is what I did. And when I did this is what I did. And you know what I did with that? Well, this is that. And that's this. And you know, 15 years ago, it happens a lot. Yeah. So guys, I'm not going to, I won't get specific with this. Okay.
Right.
But you know, I go over dialogues a lot with people in coaching.
Right.
Okay. And we wordsmith a lot of what they do. One of the big things that I have to work really hard on pulling out with a lot of people is exactly that.
Yeah.
Here's the reason why. I don't think it's from a point of being conceited. I don't think it's from a point of being, I'm excellent, I'm better than you, all that kind of stuff. The reason why so many people refer back to that in their meeting is because they're unprepared to have the conversations that they need to have. They do not have dialogues that are intentional. So they go back to their fallback position. And what is their fallback position? Me.
Yeah.
What do I know? What have I been through? How can I relate that to what you just said? And because they have not been intentional in their dialogues and their scripting, they haven't practiced, they don't know what they're going to really talk about in their interview. They're just going over the booklet of whatever it is that was handed, and they're laying out in front and they're rambling on about that. When that kind of gets off track, they have to go with what they're most comfortable talking about, which is what? Themselves.
Yep.
That's why that happens so much. I don't think people do that because they're conceited. Okay? I really don't.
Yeah, it's just you don't know what else to say.
That's right. And
how do you know what to say?
So you have to practice it.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional. So a script is an exact set of words, right?
Right.
A dialogue is a theme. You at least have to have a dialogue.
Okay.
Very least. Some people like to be scripted. Okay. Some people like to have a dialogue. As soon as they have that, you know, I was on a coaching call not long ago with somebody, and you know, we talked about something, and they said, yeah, I've got this under control, and I said, okay, let me hear it, and so we talked about it, and you know, it was kind of running through my head. I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I mean, literally almost every sentence started with I and me and all that kind of stuff, and we were talking about commission. Yeah. And I said, how do we take all of that and keep that focused around the person that is in front of you? And that's what we worked on. And at the end of, 40 minutes or whatever it was, they could tell a difference. They felt different about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Not because of what I told them to say, but they could tell that in that conversation that it was going to pull out what they needed to know in order to make an informed decision.
Yeah, and the difference between their body language when they were talking about I and me and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And that brings us, I'm going to go into the next point of how all this affects recruiting. When they started talking and they actually saw that person on the other side of the table, their body language start to change to something maybe they were unfamiliar with, from that point on of, ooh, yeah, this sounds good. I like the way that this sounds. This brokerage sounds like it's going to be a good fit for me. I really like what this broker's saying. It's only going to bring that energy up, in the entire room and lead, to a path at least closer to a hire.
Yep.
There are certain things that's like, just someone's looking for it and you either got it or you don't.
Right.
But, it's definitely 80% in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And if you feel comfortable and you like talking about you when you're sitting there, think how much more they're going to like it when you talk about them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then they get to talk about what, right? So it's just it's just gonna build that. It's just gonna build that rapport because you already know you. You might as well get to know them, right?
Yeah.
So the fourth thing, right? So the first one is see who they know from the office, right?
Right.
Second thing is training just has to be really consistent, right? And it has to be intentional. The third thing is, use your experience 2 times. Don't go any deeper than using it 2 times. The last thing that you have to do is you have to talk to them about a transition plan.
Okay.
Okay? You don't have to go over it.
Like for an agent who's coming from someplace else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So you have to have that transition plan. This is them knowing that you've been through this before, just like when you're deal doctoring.
Gotcha.
If you believe that they feel more comfortable when you're deal doctoring, if you think that the agent feels more comfortable because you know and you've been through this before, then why wouldn't you be demonstrating that in your recruiting appointment?
Yeah.
Right? I've been through this before.
Nobody wants to feel like they're the first agent that's ever came over.
That's right. That's exactly right. They never eat, whether they are or not, they don't want to feel that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, you always say, "Have you tried that new restaurant down there?"
Yep. I haven't either.
I haven't either. Let me know when you do and how your night goes.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing that we got to kind of do is we got to kind of understand them. We got to guide them to understand how to make that transition.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to walk them through all of this on the solution. So let's go back to the deal doctoring. If someone walks in and says, "Hey Matt, this just blew up and this flew apart and everything's going to hell in a handbasket," and I go, "Okay, we'll do this, this, and this, and do this and this," and problem solved. Is that person going to be back in your office with that problem again, like in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a very good chance. A very good chance at it.
Right. So you have to guide them on how to understand how that doesn't need to happen again.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to walk them through that. So a lot of the times, I would always ask a ton of questions. I'd try to go back as far as I could go back and then build the story forward. One reason is a lot of times you're going to see where the things got derailed.
Yeah.
Right. That's.
Would you bring up those examples? Would you say, remember when we went through something similar to this? On this other deal, you actually did a really good job.
Yeah.
Of A, B, C, and D. I think where we're falling short on this one is X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. Would you kind of bring it up that way, or would you just be like, "Yeah, coming to me with this again"? Yeah.
Well, I'd probably do the second one. You know me, right? Hey, we talked about this. Why are we talking about it again?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, of course, yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. You'd want to make sure you bring it up that way, which actually brings up something else. Okay, so if you're getting the backstory when you're doing the deal doctoring, or if you're in a recruiting appointment and you're getting the backstory to see where you are right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So as that's happening, you have to make sure that that you've got them in a position that they're opening up to you as much as possible, but you can't relay that to other people.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I mean by that, we talked about getting to know other people, and we talked about, being open with them and all that kind of stuff, and getting to the bottom of it, and really digging in and figuring out and sharing the stories of other people and all that. You don't share that backstory like that.
Right.
Okay. So if I say Billy Bob had a bad deal and everything blew up, but we fixed it, don't worry about it, Ben, we're going to get through this. I'm not going to go back to, "Oh yeah, everything blew up with Billy Bob." And the reason why is because whenever he first had the conversation about the contract, he didn't put this in place, and he didn't do this, and he didn't do that. And because he didn't do all those things, that's why this blew up. We know we wouldn't do that in deal doctoring. I hope everybody knows they wouldn't do that in deal doctoring. You can't do that in recruiting either.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, hey, Ben came on board, and the reason why he came on board is because the company that he was with before really didn't support him in anything that was happening, and all of his deals were falling apart, and the broker was just MIA. And because the broker was MIA, he came over here, and everything's gotten better, and he's making more money. You can't do that. But you do need to know that.
Right.
You need to go back and get that information and have that conversation and guide them to that solution. But you can't go back and you follow me?
Because they say anytime that you're throwing shade or throwing mud, we'll say, on someone else, the person who's listening is attributing all those negative things that you're saying about someone else
to you
subconsciously.
Right. If they have not heard them.
Yes.
Right. So if they know the person, maybe I don't know, maybe they do or maybe they don't. But if they don't know the person, all of that feeling is part of your relationship with them now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Matt, one time you did a great job, kind of going through, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's summarize just really quick. This is the answer essentially, but you can't always give the answer.
Yep.
Until they're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Summarize those 4 points for us, and then I will put a little bow on it.
Yep. So how to be successful in deal doctoring, if you take the principles of that, it's going to help you be more successful in recruiting.
Yep.
Okay. So the first one is see who they know in your office. Make that connection with them.
Perfect.
Okay. So the second one is training is consistent. They need to be comfortable that you're competent.
Yep.
Okay. The third one is use your experience 2 times, no more than 2 times.
Yep.
To verify that you know what's going on, but not so much that they're just tired of listening to you about you. They didn't come in there to listen to you about you. They came in there to get to know you, but not to listen to you about you, right? And then explain to them that you have a transition process, and then you need to guide them through understanding all of this by getting the backstory, going back and looking, really rolling up your sleeves and digging in, just like you would on a transactional issue. You're going to roll your sleeves up and dig in and make sure you know where the root of the problem was, because wherever the root is, you got to dig things out by the root, or they're just going to grow back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. I love it, guys. Well, I hope you love it. You should if you don't. If you feel like, Matt, I knew that. I don't need to know that right now. Right? Then hit rewind and listen to this again. Because we're telling you need to know this. So, guys, if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, that bell right beside of it. You get notified every time we drop a new episode. And go to prospectboomerang.com. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. Click podcast at the top. It takes you to Brokerpreneur podcast. Same thing. Sign up for that weekly recruiting newsletter if you'd like. And we'll just load you up with amazing recruiting content every single week, just to ensure that you are constantly having recruiting on your mind, growing, scaling, and heading in the direction that you want to go in. This is toward the end of 2021, so we'll say in 2022.
Right.
Excuse me. And we do that, Matt, for one reason. And one reason alone, and then we're going to get to that action item. Then I'm going to say it again. Tell them what it is.
Because we want to be part of their win.
What's that action item, Matt?
So what I want you to do is I want you to look at the people that you know in your office.
Yep.
Okay. And then mentally be ready. Know them well enough so that you can mentally pair them up with other people that are coming in from recruiting appointments.
Yeah.
Okay. So when someone comes in, as an example, first of all, you should know the people in your office pretty decently, right? Okay. So if you got a bunch of offices or whatever, you might not know everybody, but you should know some of the people in your office. Okay.
Yep.
Know them and know their business well enough so that you can have intelligent conversations and make connections between those people and the people that you're recruiting, the people that you're sitting down having those conversations. You want to look for similarities so that, one, you can say, hey, I've been through this before because my so-and-so in my office, we went through this and this is how we transitioned. This is how we did what we did. Or you mentioned just a second ago you wanted to grow your business in this sector and do these things through social media. I actually have an agent in my office that does a really good job with that. I'd love to get you two paired up and connected once you come on board and see if I can help you get better at that, through working directly with Billy, Bob, or Betty Sue or whoever it is.
Yeah.
So know the people in your office well enough so that you can pair them up, because in your recruiting meeting, as soon as you can make a more human connection with that person and the other people that are in your office, the sooner you can make that human connection, the better off you're gonna be.
So Matt, we've got that human connection,
right?
And I'm gonna flip the script just a little bit here.
Let's do it,
because I've already asked you why we do this, right? And now, Matt, I ask a question. This is like a quiz.
Pop quiz.
I ask a question at the end of every podcast, Tell me what that question is, Matt.
Matt, tell everybody we do these things for one reason and one reason only. And what is that one reason, Matt?
So we just want to be part of your win.
Is that how it sounds?
I was trying to pretend.
I got you.
I sound country either way. See you guys.
Say it.